We're really excited to be back, and really excited to be here in Nashville. This opportunity we don't take lightly, and it's a long road to get here. And thinking about where this team started back in January, a lot of guys off the previous team weren't there, and there was a lot of work that was in front of us. And just so proud of our guys for believing in the mission and being about just continuing to get better. All the way through it, whether that was the spring, the summer, and then ultimately through this season. We started out a really tough opponent that's still alive on the FBS side in Oregon, and I think learned a lot about ourselves that day. Came back home and had a really tough loss. But again, I think we learned a lot about ourselves. Double overtime loss to South Dakota State, and this team just continued to move forward. And here we are again, and want to do everything we can to make the best of this opportunity. I think we arrive here a fairly healthy team for this time of year, and a team in our hopes that still has a chance to play our best football. A lot of respect for our opponent, Illinois State. They've taken the long road, 16 games, 4 playoff wins on the road, and they're a challenging opponent on both sides of the ball. So really excited about the opportunity. Grateful for the NCAA, for Nashville for hosting such a premium event here, and Vanderbilt as well. So with that, I'll open it up.
All right, everybody. So once again, we will have you wait till the microphone gets to you. Name and affiliation, please, and then we'll get rolling with this. Let's go ahead and start in the back.
Victor Flores, 406 FT Sports. Just your impressions of Nashville so far?
Well, I've been here a few times. Our coaches' convention is often held at the Gaylord, and what a fantastic property, and what a huge property. So I think the first impression for our guys is, Coach, you said this is big, this is huge, there's a lot to it. So that's been great. I know just getting on campus here and getting to the stadium, it appears to be a great venue, for the championship game. I'm sure our fans are more than enjoying Broadway and all that Nashville has to offer. So I think it's a great site, and really look forward to seeing it all. It all ends up when the dust settles.
All right, we'll go back here on the right, third row. Go ahead, please.
Coach Ralph Garcia, NGSC Sports first and foremost. You're back. So you start 0-2. You got the 10-game streak. You get to the playoffs. You're playing the Cinderella. No Dakotas to be found now. I would say the mindset of this football team, as well as the coaching staff, is we've been here before. We haven't gotten it done. What's that mindset to get it done now?
Well, you want to learn from history. You want to learn from the past, but you don't want to lean on it at the same time. And I think it's appreciating the opportunity, appreciating all the work, the improvement that's gone on through the course of almost a year now. We met on January 14th for the first time with this team, and I think it's been about this team. Again, learning from history, but not dwelling on it at the same time. I think this group has really done a good job of going after each and every opportunity. They haven't all been perfect by any means. None of them have, but I think we've been very resilient along the way. So, make it about this opponent and this opportunity, and more so the opportunity, and go after it like we have every week.
Coach,
We'll stay on the right back row. Go ahead.
Coach Dominic Delfidio, Nonstop Local Bozeman. Third national title appearance, 3 Big Sky titles. Just what are some factors that contributed to building such sustained success so quickly here in Bozeman, and what would a win on Monday night mean for the program and for you personally?
Well, I think, getting to Bozeman back in 21, there was clearly a foundation laid. The team had been to the semifinals in 19, and it was, what can we do to build upon that foundation? What can we do to continue to raise the bar as far as our expectations go? And to do that, you need a ton of support. So that certainly starts with our administration. Certainly President Cruzado at the time, and now President Tessman. Leon's been here for a decade now, and his vision and his support and wanting to continue to raise the bar is in line with certainly where I'm at. And then we've continued to recruit, I think, guys that appreciate where they're at, are hungry, competitive guys, and so if when you graduate, whatever, you might lose a few guys, the next guys step in, and we've been able to attract some really good coaches at the same time, and just had a forward-thinking mindset. And again, expectations are one thing, but do you have the support that allows you to meet those expectations? And we do. And our fan support and the way our donors continue to step up is right in line with our expectations. So there's a lot of hands that have contributed to this sustained success. And what it would mean, I think it would be completing this mission. And it's a culmination of this season, but it's the efforts of a lot of people over many years. And there's so many people that have played a part in our ascent, so to speak. So we need to go win a football game, but I know it would mean a lot to a lot of people for sure.
Let's keep it on the right side, middle row. Go ahead, please.
Fritz Neighbor from the Dealey Interlake. Coach, if you didn't mind, could you talk a little bit about Lamson? I looked up an article where he committed to Syracuse, and Wyoming was one of his final choices. I assume you had a little bit to do with that recruitment, and talk about how it came full circle for UNM.
Yeah, that goes back to 19 into 20. Justin was a high target of ours. I had a chance to go out to Sacramento, to his high school, talk to his high school coach, see him throw, get to know him. It became the COVID situation with recruiting, so when Justin did come to Laramie, I couldn't have any contact with him other than seriously looking out my second floor office window and kind of waving to him. But he was serious about us. And then Syracuse, Louisville, I know in particular, came about, and he ended up choosing Syracuse. It was probably back in the beginning of December last year. He went to the portal after going to Stanford, and I certainly recalled what I thought of him as a high school player. And he was clearly our target as we went through December, and it was as much about what I felt about him as a high school player. He had played at Stanford and done some good things, so you could see the physical piece that was potentially there as well. But we felt like he would be the guy he's become. So he visits. It was right prior to our South Dakota semifinal game last year. Loved it, but he still had a winter quarter at Stanford to complete, and completing a Stanford degree made a lot of sense to me. Not only what it made to him. So that complicated matters, and ultimately he chose to go to Bowling Green. And I still remember getting that call, which was essentially about 50 weeks ago. It was next week, actually, so 51 weeks, whatever it was. And just disappointed that we couldn't make it work, because I think he wanted to make it work. And then the way it worked out, where their coach left, and then he came back calling, and it was the way the story was meant to be wrote, because he really didn't choose us simply because he didn't think he'd go through spring ball. And that's the type of kid he is, just one that he wants to do everything he can to make the most of the opportunity. And I think we've seen that play out through his time with us now, starting back, in the late spring and going through the summer and the fall, and he's just continued to get better and better. So, I don't know, crazy story, and relationship that's between us has gone back quite a ways, and to now have it come to fruition like it has, I'm just grateful that things work out the way they do.
We'll stay on the right side, front row right here.
Steve Lehman, News Channel 5 here in Nashville. Coach, you said you don't dwell on the past, but for this team, how much do they feel like they have unfinished business after the game last year? And if you can capitalize this time around, would it be validation for the program you've talked about building?
Well, I think our consistency and getting here 3 times to this game. Now our program's been in the semifinals 5 out of 6 years. I think we've established ourselves as a program that has performed consistently, and I don't think that's going away. But to be able to, finish this this journey off, I think it's what we're all after. And I think this is such a new team where I don't, there's a fair amount of motivation from us coming up short last year, but it immediately became about this team. There were so many new pieces. So I think it'd be be validation for this team of how far we've come. And we had, so many unknowns, back at the beginning of it, back in mid-January last year, and those pieces have continued to come together, and this team has come together, and that's players, that's coaches, that's the whole thing. So I really think it's about this team, this group of guys, and validating itself rather than really, making right by the previous seasons. Previous seasons were part of the story for sure.
Okay, we'll go to the left-hand side, second row. Dom, go ahead.
Brent, Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo. Describe how special this season has been to have your son Jake there, and the rooting section. You have a feeling from North Dakota that you're here, even the Bison are not.
Well, I'm just concerned with we're here, I guess. That's all I really care about. And yeah, to have now two sons on the team, and this is Jake's fourth year, Grant's first year. Miles, my nephew's on the team as well. Yeah, I think the cool thing is Jake's Jake Vigen. He's not the coach's kid. He's Jake. And it was pretty immediate from the start, and I think Grant certainly followed his lead. You just want your sons to have their own experience, to appreciate it, to love it for what it is, and I think they've done that, and certainly over 5 years, Bozeman's our home, and it's been a great place for Molly, and now Luke's a freshman in high school, and I don't know, you just want, wherever you're at, you want it to be where you're at, and you want your family to enjoy it, and they certainly have done that. And I guess for Jake, this has been a really enjoyable experience. Doesn't get on the field a whole lot, but his contribution, I think he understands what it means, and he's loving life.
Let's keep it on the right-hand side now, back row in the far end. Go ahead.
Ralph Garcia, NGSC Sports again. And Coach, we haven't talked about the Redbirds, your opponent. Now, if you look at them, they're the Cinderella story this year. You, of course, are the team that's championship built and ready. But they've knocked off a little bit of that Cinderella talk with 4 big wins, 2 against 2 of the top 3 teams in the country. How do you prepare the team to make sure that, hey, we know we're supposed to win this on paper, but let's not get complacent and lose to this team?
Well, I think as you go along and it gets narrowed from 24 to 16, 16 to 8, 8 to 4, 4 to 2, and now two teams are vying to be that top one. That these teams are here for good reason, and regardless of maybe what you don't know about any one of these programs, you learn in a hurry that they belong here, and Illinois State has proven that. Stubbed their toe a couple times in conference play, but we all know the Missouri Valley is that's a gauntlet to go through, and certainly, going up to Fargo and winning in the fashion that they did, I think our guys fully aware that that's a huge mountain to climb. So, the fact that they've gone on a road, they've been coast to coast, they've played 16 games, and they're clearly playing their best right now. They've certainly found themselves. So they got our full attention, and they're good on both sides of the football. They're good up front on both sides of the football. They have playmakers. They're certainly not one dimension to them, I guess. And we've been on a run now. We closed the regular season playing UC Davis and playing the University of Montana, and now our 3 playoff games. I think our last 5 opponents in particular have all been a little bit different, even though one was the same. But even the dynamics of playing the University of Montana a couple times. So. I think this team's done a good job of respecting each and every opponent, trying to do everything we can to make the best of every opportunity. And they have our full attention, though. There's no question. They're a very good football team and well coached, and they got talent. No different than the teams I remember from Coach Spack back 2009 to 2013 when we coached I coached against them. So
We're going to go third row on the left, and we have time for just a couple more.
Victor Flores, 46 Empty Sports. Just wondering if there's any update to your last injury update.
Yeah, I think for Caden in particular, he's doing everything he can to be a part of it. So I anticipate he's going to be out there, and he's he's practiced quite a bit over the last week, and I really appreciate that. I think he, immediately the Sunday after that Saturday game, said, "Coach, I'm going to do everything I can to play," and I think we're in position for that to come to reality. And otherwise we are very healthy, and we make this trip with 70 guys dressing, and J.J. Dolan's the only one that's played significantly that's not part of that 70. It doesn't mean the accumulation of a season and the bumps and bruises and all that stuff hasn't taken its toll on some guys, but that's football, So I think a lot of credit goes to strength staff, training staff for their work, continued work, and our guys' commitment to that. So, considering we're here and it's our 16th opportunity, deep into the season, obviously, I think I like where health is at.
Time for one more. We'll go right here, front row.
Slim Kimmel, MTN Sports. Coach, going back 6 years ago, kind of the biggest gap this team faced versus NDSU's of the world was the offensive and defensive lines. Have you guys been able to close that gap and progress to where you can consistently compete at this level with the guys you have up front?
Well, we've certainly made it a priority, and I'm not saying it wasn't a priority before. It comes down to, really having a pretty keen eye on recruiting, and then, turning those guys over to Sean Heron and his staff and letting them go to work. I love the fact that our offensive defensive line, half of those guys are from the state of Montana, and I know when those guys came on campus, they didn't look like they look now. So, by being able to identify those guys first from our state that could really develop and become what they become was a key element. And I think we've been able to do that a little bit more than had been done previously. I think having a lot of competition within both those groups is critical. We play 8 guys consistently on the defensive line, so those guys can't take anything for granted. I know if we had to play more than the 5 we play, we could on the offensive line. So that means when one guy graduates, there's another guy stepping in or whatever. So this has been a real priority, and then I think our style of football is, attractive to those guys, maybe from the out-of-state element that say, okay, this is a place that let's say highlights the offensive line, is really leaning on the defensive line as far as how we play our defense, and I think that's the type of how these systems guys want to play in. So, you don't win this time of year without good line play, and I certainly knew that. And again, it's not that wasn't the way they were previously looking at it. I think we've just been able to take it to another level.